The great assembly hall of the coalition of worlds stretched wider than any human stadium. Its dome shimmered with shifting stars that reflected the many systems bound under its banner. Delegates of every known race filled the seats. Some were tall and feathered, some scaled like moving statues, and others carried soft light in their bodies. Voices mixed in 100 languages, carried on the air by the quiet work of translator drones. It was a place meant to show unity, yet beneath the glow of the hall ran endless whispers of rivalry and doubt. Aaron stood among Earth's delegation, straight back though his chest carried a tight weight. He was not a career diplomat like the others around him. He was an engineer by trade, a man who had spent years fixing transport ships and teaching students at orbital stations. He never imagined standing before the coalition, but a series of events had placed him here. When the human ambassador requested assistance with technical matters during the conference, Aaron was sent as part of the support staff. That role was meant to be simple, quiet, and unnoticed. But today nothing felt simple. The gathering was meant to mark the renewal of trade routes, the balancing of power agreements, and a display of trust between species. The coalition called it the Convergence Assembly. 4 days speeches had risen and fallen, full of promises and guarded words. Aaron listened and took notes, fixing a faulty display here, a comms unit there. He stayed invisible, and he was content with that role. Then Nara stepped forward. She belonged to the Valerie, a people both admired and feared in the coalition. Their tall forms gleamed with silver patterns across their skin, a natural lattice that shifted in the light. Their voices carried calm strength. The Valerie were known for wisdom, diplomacy, and a memory of ancient wars that had scarred half their worlds. When a Valerie spoke, the hall listened. Nara was young by her people's standards, though still older than Aaron by decades. She carried herself with quiet grace, her dark eyes steady as she looked over the crowd. Everyone expected her to speak of new trade or a plan to balance border security. Instead she turned her gaze toward the human delegation. Toward Aaron. Her voice rang clear, echoed by the drones. "I wish you were my husband, human." The words spread across the hall in a wave. Drones repeated them in dozens of tongues, each carrying the same meaning. A silence dropped like a stone. Even the air felt heavy. Aaron froze. He thought perhaps the translation had twisted, but the faces around him said otherwise. Eyes widened, some shocked, some curious, some even calculating. The humans near him stiffened, whispers breaking among them. Across the chamber, representatives of other species leaned forward, eager for every detail. The Valerie custom of bond declaration was no small matter. Aaron knew that much. Stories told of their long tradition of choosing a partner publicly. To speak such words in the assembly meant more than personal desire. It meant a bridge of lives, an alliance stronger than any treaty. For centuries Valerie had chosen partners within their own kind or with long-respected allies. Never before had a human been named. Aaron's breath caught. He was no ambassador, no soldier, not even a leader. He was an engineer who had mended broken engines and helped teach young cadets how to fly safely. He was ordinary, and yet the Valerie ambassador had named him. The silence stretched. Every being in the hall waited for what would follow. The human ambassador, a man named Darren, cleared his throat and stepped forward. "Ambassador Nara," he said with a measured voice, "these words carry weight beyond measure. May I ask that you explain their intent to this council?" Nara inclined her head. Her silver markings shimmered faintly as she spoke again. "My people believe that the strongest bonds are not built by calculation alone. They are chosen by recognition of spirit. I have watched this human. In his work I have seen patience, in his voice I have heard kindness, in his eyes I have witnessed courage without pride. Such qualities are rare and must be honored. I name him as the one I wish to bind with me. Gasps spread across the chamber. Some species murmured approval, others suspicion. The coalition chair, a being of crystal form called Seliner, raised a hand and the room quieted. This declaration cannot be ignored, Seliner said, voice like chiming bells. But nor can it be decided in haste. The council will take time to consider its meaning. The session ended swiftly after that. Delegates filed out, speaking in hurried tones. News drones zipped away to broadcast the moment to every world connected to the coalition. What was meant to be a steady day of agreements had turned into a storm of speculation. Aaron remained rooted to his place, heart pounding, thoughts spinning without anchor. He wanted to speak, to ask, to deny, yet his tongue felt heavy. He barely noticed Nara's calm gaze still fixed on him before she finally turned to leave with her escort. Back in the human quarters of the embassy station, the storm struck full force. Diplomats surrounded Aaron at once. Questions fired like arrows. Did you know this would happen? What contact have you had with her before? What does she mean by this? Aaron could only shake his head. I have never spoken with her. Not once. I do not know why she said it. The room filled with rising voices. Some argued this could be a great opportunity. Others warned it could be a trap. To refuse outright might insult the Valerie and damage fragile trade talks. To accept without thought might bind humanity into obligations beyond its strength. Every word was heavy with strategy and fear. Aaron listened, his mind swimming. He wanted quiet, wanted space to think. But he was not given that gift. Later, when the debate slowed, he sat with Maya, an older member of the delegation who had guided him since his arrival. She was calm, her voice steady like flowing water. You look as though the floor has opened beneath you, Maya said gently. Aaron gave a tired laugh. That would be easier. I am not made for this stage. I do not know why she chose me. Maya studied him. Perhaps she saw something that you do not yet see in yourself. Aaron shook his head. I am an engineer. I fix things. That is all. And perhaps, Maya said, that is what she values. Not ambition, not power, but someone who mends what is broken. Remember, Aaron, the Valerie do not speak lightly. She has her reasons, even if we do not yet understand them. Her words gave little comfort, but they lingered in his mind. As the night passed, the embassy filled with reports from across the coalition. Some worlds celebrated the declaration as a sign that humanity was ready to stand equal among the stars. Others whispered that the Valerie sought to use Earth as a tool, binding it through one man to their own designs. On Earth itself, broadcasts filled every channel. Families at home watched the recording again and again, seeing Aaron's stunned face, hearing Nara's calm voice. Aaron tried to rest but sleep did not come. He walked the quiet corridors, the stars outside burning silent and distant. He wondered what his family back home thought, what his old students would say, what history might record. He wondered most of all what Nara truly meant. The next day the coalition met in private council. Aaron was not invited to speak, only to wait. Hours stretched long. Finally, a message arrived. The council would not decide yet. They required more understanding of Valerie intent. Until then, the matter remained open. Later that evening, as Aaron sat alone in a small garden chamber within the embassy, the door opened. Nara stepped inside. She moved with quiet grace, her eyes never leaving his. "Why me?" Aaron asked before she could speak. His voice carried both fear and frustration. "I am no leader. I am no diplomat. I do not understand why you spoke those words." Nara studied him, then spoke with calm certainty. "Because truth does not wait for rank or title. You see yourself as ordinary, but I have watched you. I saw how you treated the staff who served the hall. You listened when others ignored. You repaired a small drone without request, easing its burden. You spoke with honesty, never with arrogance. These are signs of strength my people value. That is why I chose." Aaron felt the ground shift again. He could not answer at once. He could only stare, his heart heavy with confusion and something else he could not yet name. Nara inclined her head. "I know the burden my words place upon you. I ask only that you consider. The council will decide in time, but the choice also rests within you." She turned and left as quietly as she had come, leaving Aaron alone beneath the glow of alien stars. The hall had fallen silent once when she spoke. Now silence fell again, but this time it was within Aaron's own heart, filled with questions that had no easy answer. The news of Nara's declaration spread like fire across the stars. Every station, every broadcast, and every information net carried the same message. The Valerie ambassador had stood before the coalition of worlds and chosen a human, an ordinary engineer named Aaron, as the one she wished to call husband. On Earth, the news caused endless debate. Families sat in their homes staring at the recording. Students whispered in classrooms. Soldiers in training camps replayed the words again and again, wondering what it meant for their nation. Some were proud, some doubtful, some fearful. In the outer colonies, where humans often felt ignored by the wider galaxy, the news was received with fierce excitement. They believed this meant humanity was no longer a small voice but now part of something greater. In other corners of the galaxy, reactions were less kind. Several powerful races felt threatened. If the Valerie bonded with humanity, it could shift the balance of alliances. Trade routes, military support, and political weight could tilt. For centuries the Valerie had been careful in their bonds. Now they had chosen someone outside the old circle. Rivals wondered what secret plans lay behind that decision. Inside the human embassy, life became chaos. Aaron could barely take a step without being questioned. He had no answers to give. Diplomats shouted in meetings about possible strategies. Some believed they must accept, no matter the cost, because the alliance would bring access to Valerie technology and protection. Others warned it was dangerous. To tie their fate to one powerful species might cost humanity its independence. Aaron sat in the center of it, silent, overwhelmed. He had never been trained for such storms. He longed for the quiet of a workshop, the sound of tools in his hands, the hum of engines that obeyed his skill. Now he was a symbol he did not understand. Maya, his mentor and guide, tried to keep him steady. She took him aside whenever she could. "Do not let them crush you with their noise," she said softly. "They are thinking of politics. You must think of truth. Only truth can stand long in such halls." Aaron nodded, though his heart still carried weight. That night, after long hours of debate, he lay awake in his chamber. He could hear the faint hum of the station's systems. The stars outside the window looked cold and distant. He thought of Nara's calm voice, of the certainty in her eyes when she said she had seen something in him. He wanted to believe her, yet part of him feared being used as a piece in a game far larger than he could see. The next morning, the embassy received a message. The Coalition Council had decided to allow a private audience between Aaron and Nara. The meeting would be observed by guards but not recorded for public viewing. It was a chance for the human to hear from the Valerie ambassador directly. When Aaron entered the meeting chamber, he felt his breath catch. The room was built like a garden beneath a glass dome. Strange plants glowed with gentle light. Water flowed quietly through thin channels, filling the air with calm sound. Nara stood waiting, her silver patterns shifting like waves. She bowed her head slightly in greeting. "Thank you for coming." Aaron's voice was rough. "I did not have much choice." Nara studied him, her gaze steady but not unkind. "Choice remains. Always." He shook his head. "You placed me in a storm I never asked for. Do you know what it has done? Earth debates all night. Allies whisper behind closed doors. I cannot walk 10 steps without someone demanding an answer. Why me? Why now?" Nara's voice was calm, without defense. "Because sometimes the strongest truth must be spoken when no one expects it. If I had chosen one of your leaders, it would have been seen as a bargain. If I had chosen someone hidden in power, it would have been seen as calculation. But I saw in you something that is neither bargain nor calculation. I saw kindness without command. That is rare." Aaron stared at her, searching her eyes. He saw no mockery, no game, only steady certainty. "You speak as if this is only about me, but the coalition will not see it that way. They will see treaties and armies." "They will," Nara admitted. "But symbols shape the future. You must decide whether you wish to be only a piece moved by others, or whether you will stand as yourself. If you stand as yourself, then no council can twist you into something you are not." The words sank into Aaron like slow fire. He did not answer at once. Instead he looked at the glowing plants around them, at the still water, at the vast stars beyond the dome. Finally he said, "I do not know if I am strong enough." Nara's eyes softened. "Strength is not never feeling fear. It is walking forward even while you fear. That is what I have seen in you." The meeting ended without decision. But the words stayed with Aaron. In the days that followed, the hallways of the coalition filled with rumors. Some claimed Nara had chosen Aaron to gain control over humanity. Others said it was a genuine act of respect. A few even whispered that the Valerie saw a coming storm in the galaxy and wanted allies who were still unshaped by the old rivalries. The human delegation remained split. Ambassador Darren pressed Aaron to remain neutral in public. "Say nothing," he urged. "If you commit to her words, Earth may be trapped. If you deny them, we may lose our chance at power. Silence is our safest course for now." But silence grew heavy. Each time Aaron walked through the station, beings of other races watched him with curious eyes. Some nodded in respect. Others sneered. A few even whispered greetings, testing to see what kind of man this human was. Aaron kept his step steady, though inside he felt the weight of each gaze. One evening, as he walked the outer corridors where the glass wall showed the endless stars, Maya joined him. "You are quiet," she said. "I am tired of being stared at," Aaron admitted. Maya smiled faintly. "That is the price of standing where history turns." He looked at her sharply. "History is not meant for me. I fix broken parts. I am no hero." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Perhaps that is why she chose you. Heroes chase glory. You simply mend what is broken. The galaxy has many warriors and rulers. It has far fewer healers. Aaron said nothing, but her words gave him a small measure of peace. The following day brought a new storm. A faction within the coalition, made up of races wary of the Valeri, demanded that Aaron be tested. They argued that if the Valeri wished to bind themselves to a human, then humanity must prove worthy. Otherwise, the bond should be rejected as dangerous. The council agreed to consider the demand. Aaron sat in the embassy chamber as the news was delivered. His heart sank. He had never asked for any of this, yet now he was being pushed into trials meant to judge his entire species. Later that night, Nara visited him again, this time under the watch of only 2 guards. "They will test you," she said simply. "I know," Aaron replied. "Do you fear it?" "Yes." Nara studied him quietly. Then she said, "Good. Only a fool faces trial without fear. But I believe you will walk through it with the same patience I saw before." Aaron met her gaze. "And if I fail?" "Then you fail as yourself," Nara said. "That is still greater than winning as someone else's tool." Her calm words steadied him again, though the fear did not vanish. Across the coalition, tension grew. Media feeds replayed every small gesture between Aaron and Nara. Supporters painted him as a symbol of new unity. Critics claimed he was a puppet. Armies whispered of shifting alliances. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. And Aaron, once only an engineer, found himself preparing for trials that could decide not only his fate, but the path of humanity itself. The coalition chamber agreed that Aaron must face a set of trials. They said it was the only way to test his worth, to prove if he could carry the weight of such an unexpected bond. The declaration of the Valeri ambassador had shaken the balance of the galaxy, and no council wanted to accept it without proof. Aaron sat in silence as the decision was delivered. He felt the world spin around him. His heart thudded heavy in his chest. Trials were not what he had ever wished for. He was an engineer, a builder, a man of small deeds and quiet labor. But now the galaxy demanded that he stand as a symbol. Nara met his eyes when the council rose to leave. Her voice was calm, her words steady. "You are afraid. That is natural. But remember, the trial is not meant to make you someone else. It is meant to show who you already are." Aaron gave a slow nod, though doubt still weighed on him. That night, the embassy felt restless. Diplomats argued in every corner. Soldiers checked their weapons, though no battle was near. News channels buzzed with endless debate. Was the human ready? Was the Valeri sincere? Would the trials reveal greatness, or would they expose weakness? Maya found Aaron sitting in the quiet of the observation deck, his eyes on the endless stars. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not let their noise crush your spirit," she said. Aaron gave a tired smile. "They see me as a symbol. I still see myself as an engineer who fixed broken drones." Maya's eyes softened. "Perhaps that is why she chose you. Symbols often grow from simple truth. If you remain who you are, the trials will not break you." Her words gave him strength, though sleep came only in short fragments. The next day the first of the private audiences began. The coalition allowed Aaron and Nara to meet under light supervision. The goal was for them to speak freely, to understand the meaning behind her words. Aaron welcomed it, for he longed to ask questions without the roar of the council drowning his thoughts. The meeting chamber was shaped like a garden under glass. Strange plants glowed with faint light. Water moved in narrow streams, filling the air with soft sound. It was calm, though Aaron's heart still raced as he entered. Nara stood waiting. She inclined her head. Thank you for coming. Aaron stopped a short distance away. His voice was steady but sharp. Why did you speak those words before the whole hall? Why not speak to me first? Why place me in a storm I never asked for? Nara's silver markings glowed faintly as she answered. Because truth is strongest when spoken openly. If I had spoken to you in secret, others would have called it manipulation. By declaring in the hall, I left no room for secret design. My people's custom demands honesty under the gaze of many. Aaron frowned. You say it was honesty. But to me it felt like being trapped. Her gaze softened. I understand. Yet you are not trapped. You still hold choice. That is why we meet now. He let silence stretch before he asked, why me? You could have chosen a leader, someone with rank or power. Because leaders are often chosen by calculation, she said. They wear masks to please others. You wear none. I saw your small actions when no one was watching. I saw you help a young worker who dropped her tools. I saw you mend a drone without reward. I saw you speak gently to those beneath your rank. These are signs my people value. To us, such things matter more than titles. Aaron's heart beat faster. You watched me. For months, she admitted. The Valerie study carefully before speaking such words. We do not bind lightly. I saw enough to believe in what I said. Her words struck deep. Aaron felt both humbled and burdened. To be chosen for kindness and patience rather than power was strange in a hall of politics. Yet it felt true. Do you understand what this means for humanity? He asked. I do, Nara said. Some will fear it. Some will try to twist it. But if we stand steady, it can bring strength. Not through war, but through unity. The coalition has grown heavy with rivalry. A bond with a new people may open a new path. Aaron sighed. And if I refuse? Her voice remained calm. Then I will accept your choice. My people will respect it. But the chance will be gone. Others may fill the space, and their intentions may not be gentle. He looked at her, searching for hidden motives. Yet her eyes remained steady, clear as water. The audience ended, but her words lingered in his mind. Over the following days, Aaron and Nara were allowed more private talks. Each time he entered the garden chamber, he felt his burden shift slightly. They spoke of Valerie customs, of their history, of the wars that had scarred their worlds. She told him how her people believed that bonds were not chains but bridges. To call someone husband was not to claim ownership, but to share responsibility. Aaron spoke of Earth in return. He told her of his home city, of the river that ran through it, of the sound of rain on old rooftops. He told her of teaching young cadets, of repairing ships so they could carry families safely across the stars. Nara listened with care, never rushing, never judging. She asked questions, and he answered as best he could. In those talks, Aaron began to see her not as a distant figure of power but as a person who carried her own burdens, her own hopes. Still, outside the garden chamber, storms raged. A faction of the council gathered in secret, angry at the bond. They feared that if the Valerie and humans joined, their own power would fade. They began to spread rumors, whispering that the Valerie only sought to use humanity as pawns. Others argued the opposite, saying the humans were using Nara to climb too high, too fast. In the markets of the station, ordinary citizens debated as well. Some cheered when Aaron walked past. Others muttered curses under their breath. The engineer became a living symbol, and every eye weighed him with judgment. One evening, as he left the chamber after another long talk with Nara, Aaron found Maya waiting. She walked beside him in silence for a while before she spoke. "You are changing," she said. Aaron looked at her, surprised. "Changing how?" "You walk with more weight," Maya said. "Not because you seek power, but because you are learning what it means to carry others' hopes." Aaron sighed. "I do not know if I can bear it." "None of us know until we are tested," Maya replied. "But I think she chose well." "Perhaps you cannot see it yet, but I can." Her faith steadied him. The next day, the coalition delivered news that made his heart pound. The trials would begin soon. They called them the trials of threads, tests that measured courage, compassion, and conviction. Each trial would reveal not only Aaron's character but humanity's readiness to stand beside the Valerie. The announcement spread like fire. Every channel lit up with speculation. Supporters cheered that a human would face the challenge. Critics whispered that he would fail, and humanity would be shamed. Aaron felt the pressure of countless eyes upon him. Yet in the quiet of his chamber, he remembered Nara's words. Strength was not the absence of fear. Strength was walking forward even when fear remained. That night he stood before the window, watching the stars. They looked endless, cold, and beautiful. He thought of his family on earth, of the students he once taught, of the quiet pride in their eyes when they learned something new. He thought of Nara's steady gaze, her belief in him. And for the first time, he whispered to himself, "Perhaps I can face this. Perhaps I can walk through it." The morning of the first trial began with a heavy silence in the human quarters. Aaron sat on the edge of a wide bench, his hands resting on his knees, staring at the floor. He had been given a simple uniform with no decoration, only the insignia of Earth on the chest. Around him, the room hummed with quiet energy. Guards waited at the doors, and Maya stood near the window, her face unreadable. "You should eat something," she said calmly. "The trials will not be easy, and you will need your strength." Aaron gave her a small nod. His stomach felt too tight to accept food, but he forced himself to take a piece of bread from the tray. He chewed slowly, each bite heavy. The Valerie custom had sounded strange when Nara explained it to him. To them, the binding of two lives was never a private matter. It was always tested, always witnessed. For the Valerie, marriage was not simply about affection. It was a promise to carry duty, to stand firm when storms came, and to protect the other as one would protect oneself. The trials of threads were their way to prove that both partners could endure together. When the doors opened, the air seemed to thicken. Nara stood waiting, her tall frame wrapped in silver-blue robes that shimmered faintly in the light. Her dark eyes met Aaron's, and though her face was calm, he could sense her quiet concern. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. "As ready as I can be," he replied. The two walked side by side through long corridors until they reached the great chamber where the coalition gathered. Rows of alien delegates filled the hall. Some watched with cold suspicion, others with curiosity, and a few with genuine interest. The air buzzed with translators repeating every sound in dozens of languages. At the center of the hall stood a ring of light, a circle glowing on the polished floor. Inside it, the trials would take place. A tall Valerie elder stepped forward. His robe was marked with long golden threads that flowed like rivers. His voice carried power as he addressed the assembly. "Today begins the trial of threads. The first is courage. The second is compassion. The third is conviction. Only by walking through these paths can two souls prove their bond. If they fail, the binding is broken. If they succeed, the bond is honored before all. The elder turned to Aaron and Nara. Step forward. They entered the circle together. Light rose around them, and in a blink the hall vanished. The trial of courage. Aaron found himself standing inside a vast metal corridor. Sirens blared. The smell of smoke filled the air. Red lights flashed overhead. Around him, broken pipes leaked steam, and the sound of voices echoed through the ship. "This is a freighter," Nara explained, scanning their surroundings. "The trial has placed us in a failing vessel. The crew is in danger. We must save as many as we can before the collapse." Aaron's pulse quickened. He knew this was not real, but it felt real. Heat burned against his skin. A distant crash shook the floor. A group of frightened figures appeared, their bodies shaped like small insect-like beings with fragile wings. They shouted in panic, their voices overlapping in fear. Aaron rushed forward. "Come with us. Stay low. The fire is spreading." Nara lifted a fallen beam with her great strength, clearing the path. Aaron guided the crew, his voice steady though his heart raced. Smoke grew thicker. The corridor split in two directions. Nara looked at him. "Which way?" Aaron hesitated, then listened. He could faintly hear a child crying down the left path. "That way," he said firmly. They ran. The heat pressed closer, and flames licked along the walls. At the end of the corridor, a small insect-like child was trapped behind a fallen door. "Help me move this," Aaron shouted. Together, he and Nara pushed until the door lifted. He pulled the child free, coughing through the smoke. They guided the survivors to an exit hatch where a shuttle waited. As the last crew member climbed aboard, the freighter groaned and shuddered, tearing itself apart. The simulation flickered and ended. Aaron and Nara stood again in the hall, the light circle fading around them. The Valerie elder's voice rang out. "The trial of courage is complete." Some delegates murmured in surprise. A human had acted quickly, leading with instinct. Aaron felt his knees tremble, but he stood tall. The trial of compassion. The second trial began almost at once. The circle of light rose again, and the world around them shifted. Now they stood in a vast chamber filled with two groups of alien leaders. One group had smooth, glass-like skin that glowed faintly. The other had scales and heavy ridges along their arms. Both groups shouted angrily, their voices filled with bitterness. Nara whispered, "These are the Ilari and the Brakar. Their people have fought for generations. The trial demands that we bring peace, even for a short moment." Aaron swallowed hard. Diplomacy was not his skill. He was an engineer, not a speaker. But he saw the anger burning on each side, and he remembered how small acts had meaning. He stepped forward slowly, raising his hands in a calm gesture. "Listen to me," he said, his voice steady. "I know your pain runs deep. But look around. This is not about who wins or loses. This is about whether your children will have peace or only endless anger." The groups continued to shout. Nara added her voice, calm and powerful. "No words can heal all wounds in a single day, but you can choose not to deepen them. Speak not of past strikes, but of the lives you still have to protect." Aaron noticed that many of them avoided eye contact. They were lost in rage. He reached into his pocket and found a small coin, the one he always carried. He held it up. "This is from Earth," he said. "It is not made of gold or silver. It is just a small piece of metal. But when I was young, My father gave it to me and said it would remind me to care for others, even when life is hard. This coin has no power, yet it carries meaning because of the memory behind it. Peace is the same. It may feel small, but if you hold it close, it can guide your people to a better path. The hall grew quiet. Some of the leaders lowered their heads. For a brief moment, the shouting stopped. The Valerie elder's voice echoed. The trial of compassion is complete. When the light faded, the coalition hall returned. Delegates whispered to one another. Many seemed surprised that Aaron had relied on something so personal and simple, yet it had worked. The trial of conviction. The final trial began with a colder atmosphere. The circle of light rose again, wrapping Aaron and Nara in its glow. This time, Aaron found himself standing alone in a quiet chamber. The walls were dark, and only a single figure waited. It was a tall shadowy shape, its voice deep and smooth. "You have done well," the figure said. "But courage and compassion are easy to show when others watch. Conviction is harder. Conviction is what you do when no one sees." The figure stepped closer, its eyes glinting. "I offer you freedom from all this. Walk away from Nara, walk away from Earth's burden, and I will give you wealth, safety, and power. Your people will never suffer. All you must do is refuse this bond." Aaron's chest tightened. The offer sounded tempting, but he knew it was false. He thought of Nara's calm strength, of Maya's quiet support, of the lives saved in the first trial, and of the leaders who listened in the second. He shook his head. "No, I cannot betray them. I cannot betray her. I will stand with Nara, no matter the cost." The shadow's voice sharpened. "Even if it brings war to your people." "Yes," Aaron said firmly. "Because peace built on betrayal is no peace at all. My choice is clear." The figure vanished. The chamber dissolved, and the hall returned. Nara stood beside him once more, her eyes shining with pride. The Valerie elder lifted his hand. "The trial of conviction is complete. The bond has been tested. The human has shown courage, compassion, and conviction. The Valerie accept this proof." The coalition hall erupted in sound. Some delegates clapped their hands or raised their voices in approval. Others muttered in anger, unwilling to accept what they had seen. But the trials had spoken, and the custom was sacred. Aaron felt a wave of relief wash over him. His body trembled, but his spirit felt steady. Nara placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "You did well," she said softly. "I only did what felt right," he replied. "That is why it worked," she answered with a faint smile. Maya approached from the side, her eyes shining with quiet pride. "The world has just changed, Aaron. Humanity has just taken its first true step into the stars." Aaron looked around the hall, at the sea of alien faces, at the whispering and the rising voices. He did not know what the future would bring, but he knew one thing for certain. His choices had been true, and now the path ahead belonged not just to him, but to all of Earth. The council chamber hummed with anticipation as the final day approached. Aaron and Nara stood together at the center of the room, the circle of light rising faintly beneath their feet. Outside, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Every world connected to the coalition waited for the decision that could change the balance of power, and the path of humanity. The Valerie elder stepped forward. His golden threads shimmered with authority. "The trials of threads have been completed. Courage, compassion, and conviction have been shown by the human before us. The bond proposed is strong, sincere, and worthy of recognition." A murmur passed through the hall. Some delegates nodded quietly. Others whispered doubts. They had watched the trials with critical eyes, yet the evidence was clear. Aaron had faced every challenge, not for glory, but for principle. He had acted from honesty, instinct, and care. The elder continued, "The council will now vote to honor this bond, and in doing so, to recognize humanity as a partner among the stars. The vote will be conducted openly." Aaron felt his heart hammer. This was the moment he had feared, yet also hoped for. Nara's hand rested lightly on his shoulder. Her calm presence reminded him of the quiet strength he had seen during their private talks. The voting began. Each delegate rose in turn, casting their choice through the council's crystal system. A voice of light, a sound of energy, or a simple nod registered the vote. The process was long and deliberate, each delegate aware that the outcome could shape centuries. Aaron watched and waited, feeling the weight of every gaze. He thought of Earth, of his students, of the quiet towns where people had no knowledge of what he faced. The bond with Nara was not just about him. It represented his people stepping into a wider galaxy, taking responsibility, showing they could be trusted. Hours passed. When the last vote was cast, the elder spoke once more. "The votes have been tallied. The council honors the bond. Humanity and the Valerie shall stand together, symbolized through this chosen partnership. Let this union mark a beginning of mutual respect and shared responsibility." A wave of sound swept the chamber. Some delegates cheered openly. Others clapped quietly. Even skeptics could not deny the proof. The bond had been tested and had succeeded. Aaron breathed deeply. Relief mixed with awe. He felt the enormity of what had just happened. Humanity had been recognized in a way that no speech, treaty, or token could have achieved. They had been tested, and they had been found worthy. Nara turned to him. "You have done more than you know," she said. "Not for yourself, but for all of your people. That is why this is honored." Aaron felt a small smile form. "I only acted as I felt was right. That is all I could do." "Rightness carries power beyond measure," Nara replied. The ceremony concluded with a quiet ritual. Nara presented Aaron with a Valerie symbol of bond, a small crystal that glowed with soft light. When he touched it, warmth spread through his hand. It was a reminder of connection, trust, and mutual promise. The room emptied slowly. Delegates returned to their worlds, leaving Aaron and Nara in the now quiet hall. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, unchanging and eternal. "Do you know what this means for Earth?" Aaron asked quietly. "It means that your people are no longer observers," Nara said. "They are partners. Their voice will be heard. Their strength recognized. But it also means responsibility. Decisions will carry weight, and the path forward will not always be easy." Aaron nodded. He had thought of responsibility before, during the trials, but now it felt heavier. It was not just his choices, but the potential of his entire species. Yet he did not feel fear in the way he had before. He felt a steady determination. Maya joined them quietly. "The trials have ended, and humanity has shown itself capable," she said. "Now the real work begins. You have proven your strength of character. The next task is to prove your people can rise with it." Aaron looked at the stars again. He thought of home, of the cities, the rivers, the children playing in quiet streets. He thought of the students who had learned to fix machines under his guidance, the families he had helped through small acts of kindness. Everything he had done seemed small before the galaxy, yet it had mattered. For the first time, he understood Nara's choice. She had seen the truth in human deeds, the potential for integrity, courage, and compassion. She had chosen him because he represented what could be achieved when people acted with honesty and care, not ambition or greed. "Are you afraid?" Nara asked, reading his thoughts. "A little," he admitted. "But I think fear is natural. It keeps you aware, keeps you careful. I feel more ready than before, though. That is why I chose you," she said. "Not because you are perfect, but because you are human, and humans carry both courage and doubt. That is what makes them strong." Days passed, and Earth received the news in full. Broadcasts showed Aaron standing beside Nara, the symbol of bond in hand. Analysts debated what it meant. Citizens celebrated. Children looked at the stars and imagined themselves as part of something greater. The recognition of humanity spread hope as well as questions, but it also planted a seed of confidence. Humans had passed a test not of technology or weapons, but of character. The Valerie offered gifts of knowledge and guidance. They shared maps of safe travel routes, histories of distant worlds, and insights into civilizations long gone. Humanity began to learn from the stars in ways they had never before imagined. Aaron had acted alone in the trials, yet his choices opened doors for every human. Even so, he did not let it go to his head. He returned to his duties as quietly as he could, helping in technical and scientific projects. He found joy in the small tasks again, teaching new cadets, repairing systems, and walking the quiet corridors of the embassy. Every small action carried weight, and he now understood how significance grew from careful deeds. One evening, as he returned from work, Nara met him in the garden chamber. She carried a small package wrapped in soft cloth. "For you," she said. "A gift from my people, and a reminder of what has been accomplished." Inside was a small plant that glowed with gentle light. Nara explained that the plant's species only thrived when treated with patience, care, and understanding. "It will grow only if tended," she said. "Its health will reflect your choices and attention. It is a symbol, as our bond is a symbol." Aaron took it carefully. "I understand. I will care for it, as I would care for those around me." "Good," Nara said, smiling faintly. "This is only the beginning. The galaxy watches, but it is also waiting for what humanity will do next." The two of them sat in silence for a long while, listening to the soft flow of water and the faint hum of the stars. Aaron felt a deep sense of peace. The trials had been difficult, but they had proven something important. He had proven that even an ordinary human could rise to meet extraordinary expectations. Weeks turned into months. Trade between Earth and the Valerie grew steady. Other species began to see humans as partners, not outsiders. Ships traveled safely along new routes. Knowledge spread. The galaxy shifted slowly, with the quiet influence of integrity, courage, and compassion leading the way. Aaron and Nara continued their private meetings, learning from one another. They shared stories, laughed at small mistakes, and grew comfortable in ways that no council could dictate. Their bond was not only a symbol for politics, but a real connection built on mutual respect and understanding. One quiet evening, Aaron taught Nara how to brew a simple human tea. She laughed at his careful instructions and tried it herself, her silver patterns flickering softly in delight. He showed her the steps with calm patience. She responded with a Valerie lullaby, soft and haunting, that carried the music of her people into the quiet room. Aaron listened, amazed at the beauty, feeling the deep connection that had begun months ago in a chaotic assembly hall. The stars outside remained constant, Yet something had changed. Humanity had stepped forward and shown that character mattered. Aaron had learned that even a single human could shape the galaxy not through conquest, but through courage, compassion, and conviction. The story ended not with fanfare, but with quiet strength. Humanity had gained its place among the stars. Aaron and Nara, once strangers from distant worlds, now stood together as living proof that trust, honesty, and courage could bridge the largest divides. The hall that had fallen silent once now hummed with the possibilities of a brighter future. And as the galaxy turned, a new chapter began for humans, for the Valerie, and for all who dared to act with integrity among the stars.